This week we're going to talk about one of my favorites, well, can you see that? Mr. Nolan Ryan. Hey everybody, it's Jeff Ruprecht, Pine Tar Clothing Company. This is episode 3 of the Pine Tar podcast. This week, real quick. So the last couple of weeks, this is my 3rd episode, obviously. So the first week, we talked about just kind of why I'm doing this. Real quick, Pine Tar Clothing Company. So if you don't know, we're a lifestyle apparel brand who believes in celebrating the hustle and heart of baseball. We also like to say that we like to see people either as a player or watching players. We respect those that play the game with grit and with love. So that's kind of where a lot of our mentality comes from when we talk about some of the things we talk about in this podcast. But this week, I thought it'd be fun to start talking about some of the players that I know I've always loved. There's a lot to talk about. As you can see behind me, I'm in the baseball cards, especially the history part of it. So there's a lot of older cards and things and players that I still love to talk about. One of my favorites is Nolan Ryan. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and he was arguably probably my favorite player growing up to watch. At least until like Greg Maddux. We'll talk about him in another episode, but growing up in the 80s, especially, I was a big Nolan Ryan guy, and he hung it up after the '93 season. After 27 years of pitching in the majors, and he pitched for a bunch of different teams. Started with the Mets, and he pitched for the Angels, and he went to Houston, and he ended up pitching the last bunch of years of his career for the Texas Rangers. And he's known for a lot of things. He owns I think 31 records as a pitcher. Some that probably will never be broken, to be honest. He owns over 5,700 strikeouts. I don't remember the exact number offhand, but doubt that'll ever be broken. And that's crazy. I think he had, I want to say at least 11 seasons out of his 27 where he recorded over 300 strikeouts in a season. Nowadays, if you get a guy that's doing over 250, that's probably about it. So to do that many years of 300 plus is pretty crazy. He also was one of the first guys to consistently throw over 100 miles an hour, which nowadays is becoming, even more, I guess, accepted, almost to the point where, because I remember as a player growing up, the guy was throwing 90. You're just like, oh my God, the guy throws 90. And I've seen a couple 90-mile-an-hour fastballs in the batter's box, and that's scary enough. I can't even imagine 100 or over 100. But now it's becoming kind of the norm. Like if you don't throw 95 plus and maybe even touching 100, it's at least at the major league level. It's kind of crazy. That's for another discussion. But no, he had that. He also had 7 no-hitters. I don't know if that'll ever be broken. I mean, there's guys that have had multiple no-hitters, but to have 7 is kind of insane. He also owns, I believe, the most 1-hitters. 2-hitters, I think 3. I mean, all on the right. I don't have all in front of me. This is just off memory of things that I remember. But the guy was he was such a, I don't know. I remember seeing him. I got to see him throw once when I was a kid in person. Granted, I was in the nosebleeds at the Metrodome against the Twins, but I still remember seeing him warming up in the bullpen, which was fairly close to us, looking down and just popping that catcher's mitt was pretty spectacular for me as a young fan. And to see him pitch was pretty crazy. He's known for a lot of things. Late in his career, he's also known for the scuffle he got into with Robin Ventura If you don't know who Robin Ventura was, he played, I believe, for the White Sox, and I think he played for the Orioles too later in his career. But Robin Ventura, he was a decent, player that I remember in the 90s. But he got plunked one time by Nolan Ryan early in Robin Ventura's career, and thought he could take on the old guy. So he rushed the mound and he got owned like hardcore. If you've never seen it, you should look it up on YouTube. And I think it was the last time Robin Ventura ever did that again. Learned his lesson. But one thing that did happen is he just kept pitching, which was kind of crazy. Another thing that happened later in his career, and it kind of became, actually there was some news about, I guess, lately, kind of brought the same thing up, was one time he was facing Bo Jackson and took a back to the mound grounder from Bo Jackson kind of up off his lip. And he ended up spitting a little blood, and so much so that it got on his white jersey. So his big, it looked terrible. Like it looked like he got into a fight with a knife fight or something. But he continued pitching, and there's some pictures of him with this big blood stain on his left shoulder, and he still got blood on his lip, and it's running down. He just looked badass, and he just kept pitching in that game with this bloodied face, bloodied lip. So there's some fun things about him. But yeah, he took, and also to pitch 27 years in the major leagues. Like, there's guys, obviously you're just trying to make a ball club, and let alone some guys play 10, 12, maybe 15 years. Nolan Ryan pitched for 27 years, which that in itself sounds kind of crazy, but think about it as a pitcher. The amount of abuse, his shoulder, his arm. I mean, and I don't remember him ever having a lot of injuries that I can remember. I mean, to pitch that long, to have that kind of success, to throw that hard for that many years, like, unbelievable. And then he had one of the most memorable curveballs. And if I remember right, and again, I didn't get to see him in the 60s and 70s, but he developed a curveball that became pretty synonymous with him. And it was a true 12-6 curveball that, you throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball and then you come with dropping a 12-6 curveball. There's a lot of funny videos of guys that their knees just buckling, standing in the box, not knowing what to do next when he would snap one of those things off. So the guy was just crazy, crazy good. I don't know if you've ever seen the Nolan Ryan documentary on Netflix, but if you haven't, I suggest you watch it. It's done pretty well. But he talked a lot about, him being young in Texas. I think he's from a little town called Elgin, Texas, and he was really raw. He pitched well in high school, and back then I don't think he even played in college. He got drafted out of high school, and then played minor league ball, worked his way up. He broke in with the New York Mets. I believe in 1966 he had a couple appearances, and then 67 season he didn't come up until 68, and then in 69 the Miracle Mets. He helped them win his only World Series title. So I have this one of a couple cards this is from 1960. It's a 69. No, this must be a 1970 card with the 1969. Again, some of my lighting here is not helping. It's kind of looking kind of, I'll get a better shot here, but yeah, he pitched that many years. This is actually not his true rookie card. This is what his rookie card looks like with Jerry Koosman. This is a pretty expensive card. If this was an actual rookie card, this is a reproduction of it that I bought. It's mainly because it looked like he had a true signature on it. I bought it off the internet. So this is a word to a warning that double check all your autographs if you're buying off the internet, because I was told this was gold pen, which it is, but you can see it's actually like engraved into the front of the card. So it came from the factory that way. So I didn't overpay for this too much. I think $20 for it. So it's not that bad, but I should have known better that $20 to buy an autograph card off the internet would be kind of stupid. But I learned the hard way. But regardless, this is the closest I'll probably ever get to his rookie card, because much as I want it, I don't know if I can actually pull the trigger on purchasing one. I mean, we'll see once. Maybe I will. But anyways, he came up and was, he was just raw. He was raw. He talks about this in the documentary. He was a raw pitcher, threw hard. His control was kind of all over the place a little bit at first. But once he got that dialed in, he became a consistent ball player. Like I said, moved on to the Angels. I think he threw, I want to say, a couple of his no-hitters there. And then eventually moved on to the Astros, did a couple more there, and he of course, I think his last one was with the Rangers at age 44 of all things. So again, just a crazy, like this is a scorecard from the early 90s, from what they called the junk wax era. There were so many baseball cards because the hobby was so, it just blew up, right, in the 80s and 90s. And so they call it the junk wax because there were so many of these cards made that a lot of them don't necessarily have a ton of value anymore, and it's got very specific players. But I do have this graded scorecard that commemorates his 5,000th strikeout. And so yeah, I just wanted to share that one. There's some other kind of cards of note that I have from that I've collected. This is his 1971 Topps. I love this card. I think it's a beautiful card. I'll probably take a closer look with my phone later and include in the final video of this. But yeah, this is a nice card, and I'm happy that I have it. I searched far and wide for it. This one also can be worth quite a bit of money, actually, at the rank. Grade, if it's graded for sure, but it's actually in really good condition. I think I only paid like $40 for it, so it's a nice solid card there. I'm just showing a couple of different ones that I've gotten over the years. This is from the 1991 or 1992. So back in the early 90s, there was a new card company called Upper Deck that came out. I think they still have cards now, but I think they're strictly hockey, if I believe so. But for a lot of years, they did basketball cards, they did football cards, they did baseball cards. But they had these really cool series that they would put out of these. They would commission artists to do these beautiful painting illustrations. Probably hard to see here, but this is one from a Nolan Ryan set. I have some others, but this is one I could just find real quick. I had him showing a kid how to grip a baseball. I think to show him how to throw his curveball. It's 12-6 curveball. So that's a kind of a cool card right there. But yeah, he's still one of those guys that, I got to go to Cooperstown to the Baseball Hall of Fame like 5 years ago. Oh, more than that now, actually. Wow, 10 years ago now. Wow, I thought it was during COVID, but it wasn't. It was before that. I remember this now. We did a road trip out east and we ended up going there. That was 10 years ago already. Wow. Anyways, he was inducted in 1999, first ballot Hall of Famer. And so to see some of his stuff there was pretty special. I'll never forget that. But real quick, some more things about Nolan Ryan. He was an eight-time All-Star. Of course, a World Series champion. He was a 2-time NL ERA leader. So that's one thing, though, is with all the strikeouts and with all that kind of dominance he had, he wasn't you think that he still gave up runs. And actually, if you think about it, and if you see like here, I believe his major league total for wins for 27 seasons, he was 324 and 292 with an earned run average of 3.19. Again, nothing to sneeze at. 3.19 is pretty good, especially if you average that for 27 seasons. That's actually pretty astonishing, right? But to be 324 and 292, you think there'd be a lot more opportunity for wins and even losses. But he was basically a 500 pitcher when it comes to wins and losses. And if you look at his the fact that he was only an ERA leader twice in 27 years, he was just a solid, consistent guy that threw hard. And I think he's just one of those guys that either he hit it or he didn't. more often than not, it was you didn't. But if you did, I mean, he'd get himself in trouble too. So, but he was 11-time strikeout leader, like I mentioned before. He's had his number retired by most of the teams he's played for, the Angels, the Astros, and the Rangers. The Mets have not yet, but I'm sure at some point they will. He's in all their Hall of Fames. Obviously, the Major League Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, and of course, 7 career no-hitters and 5,714 career strikeouts, which I think is untouchable, especially in today's game. I highly doubt someone will ever get there. But yeah, he's definitely one of those players. I love collecting his cards. I have quite a bit. I have more to get to, and I probably will grab more over time just because he's just one of those generational players that I had a chance to see and watch and follow, and I feel really, really, I guess I'm really grateful that looking back that I had that opportunity. And my oldest son's name is Nolan. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, it is because you like Nolan Ryan?" And I guess maybe subconsciously, yeah. I didn't ever really thought about it. It was just always a name I liked, and I know that's what we named him. And of course, my son was a pitcher, but not specifically after Nolan Ryan, but I'm sure it had something to do with it, whether I can think about it consciously or not. So, but the guy, when you talk about playing with grit and playing with love, this guy exuded all of that. And yeah, so here's to you, Nolan Ryan, and thanks for listening. We'll highlight another player that I found to be kind of emit those values that we believe in really soon. Next time I might talk about maybe some of my tobacco cards from the turn of the century. There's a lot of history there and some really interesting things that you may or may not know about. But until then, we'll talk soon.